Let me comb your hair first. My mum and my nan lived in Hyman Street, initially off the Walworth Road. And in 1939, my dad went off to war, and my mum had a relative who lived in Pullens. Pullens at that time was a private estate run and owned by the Pullens family. James Pullen, the master builder who built this, his idea was that you could go from your ground floor flats into your workshops. The idea was that local people would live and work together.
Morning. I was offered a choice of 3 flats because there were so many empty and kind of semi-derelict. So I picked what I thought was the nicest one on the top floor on Iliff Street and moved in there as a student. Yeah, it was brilliant. Our own home in practically the centre of London. My flat was painted dark brown and purple. No bathroom, no floor coverings. We had newspaper down on the floor, and we all put loads of time and effort into making the place nicer and decorating. And when I got my first workshop in Iliff Yard, it was wet mould on all the walls. We spent weeks scraping all that off and drying it out. And my rent there was, I think it was 25 a month for a studio like this. Very lucky, I think. I feel very lucky to still be here and have my business here.
Hiya, come in.
Thank you. OK, show me around.
Right, hello. So, I'm Kat. This is my front room. It was very derelict. But since then, I've kind of made it home, and it really does feel like my home. You know, this is where my roots are. I'm born and bred sort of around this area. Passageway. These flats do remind me of canal boats, actually. They're quite long, and you can almost see down to the end when you're coming in. On we go. When I came past here, when I was, say, 6 or 7, we used to see these buildings. There were all these dark stairwells, and we'd walk past and we'd be scared. But as I got older and came to the pub, it was like a thriving, you know, there were people I'd never seen coming from South London. There were all these people from different backgrounds. They were from bands, they were artists. It wasn't like your South London. So I thought, this is really interesting. And that's why I was originally, you know, attracted to this different. It was different. It wasn't like anywhere else in London. It had its unique feel and unique people.
Southwark Borough Council compulsory purchased the whole estate in the late 70s because Pullens, with all the new laws coming in and the upkeep, Pullens didn't have the money. So they negotiated a deal, and I think the family got over £1 million. But the Borough Council wanted to pull the whole lot down, and people didn't like it.
We've arrived. It's okay, you can start now. We've arrived.
May 1985. It might have been May the 30th or something like that. I was with a band called Ring of Roses. We used to rehearse at Terminal Studios, which is under the arch, and discovered Pullens then. And within 3 weeks, I moved into a flat on the Pullens and stayed for 10 years. There always has been a real vibe in the place. loads of musicians from all sorts of places. There was a band called, a jazz band called Loose Tubes that were all the rage back in the day, and a lot of them lived here. Because it was so sort of dilapidated, I think that maybe what attracted people is that it was a place to build to get on with it, you know, to build a life.
I'd just like to say thanks for turning out for the Pullens Free Festival. It'd be great. The lights shine on me. Shine on me, shine like we were living in a place called, an infamous squat called Concord House over in Westbourne Grove, and that was coming to a shut. And Dan had already moved here to 47 Isle. And I said to him, "Oh man, I'm really desperate." He said, "Oh, come to the Pullens, you know, come to the Pullens. There's lots of places, you know." So anyway, I come here and we basically moved into 47 with him and Jackie. And people kept on saying, "Well, what do you do?" You know, and we said, "Well, we got this band called Damidge, you know." So, yeah, we got to headline the first Pullens Festival here, Damidge, you know, a different lineup today, but, you know, same sort of spirit. Yeah, if you don't know, we're Damidge.
The estate, of course, was at least twice the size it is today. I remember, you know, when I first got elected, the estate on Manor Place had been decanted by then, and there was they actually graffiti shame across the top of the block. I remember that very, very clearly. It had become a bit run down, and there were actually a number of squatters on the estate. And one of the then local councillors persuaded the leader of the council that we needed to get all these squatters out.
And the Tents Association were like inviting all the squatters to come. And they said, you know, invite squatters down here because the council are trying to run it down and they're boarding up all the empty flats. And then we found a really messed up one and we moved in there and just lived there like in a complete dump and a hovel. And just kind of gradually, we used to go busking on the tube and then we'd get enough money to buy a pot of paint and then we'd paint one wall or something. And then there was a jam session we had at the Pullens Centre. We squatted that empty building and we used to have loads of gigs in there. From your holy ground, take up all your own. Show you to the crowd, criticize your brothers, fighting for the poor.
I was in a jazz group at the time called Loose Tubes, and we were described by the Evening Standard as the Antichrist of jazz. We used to rehearse in the Pullens Centre, and we recorded there as well with I had a 4-track recorder. And for a while, we conceived of the idea of having a club every full moon, which we called the Full Moon Club. And I'm not exactly sure. I think it ran for pretty much a year of full moons.
It got quite legendary, because obviously it was full moon and you get loads of nutters coming. It's always a bit nutty. But yeah, it was a good club. And it got known as one of the places to go, and lots of gigs here.
First time I came here, all the balconies were like open and there were big parties going on. And there was so many cool people, interesting artists, musicians, punks and psychedelic type people and rude boys and circusy type people, all sorts. People would get together and jam with instruments, all sorts of instruments, from tubas to clarinets to guitars to percussion to voices.
How long have you been in here then? A long time.
Since 1992.
Wow.
This is home. I wouldn't know where else to live. I don't know. It's an addictive place.
I started off in Eilish Street on the balcony level. The balconies were fantastic. I was between Mark Frith and Scruff, and all our balconies were open. We didn't have dividing fences or anything. So we used to have good parties there. And my cat, Rupert, was best friends with Scruff's rabbit. It was so cute. And above the bath was, it was on pulleys and it was like a cast iron place to hang all your washing. And you just moved it up and down over the bath. And Scruff, he's no longer with us, but he was a complete legend. He would plumb all the flats, all the squats that didn't have proper plumbing. He would make sure they had flushing toilets. He'd even find shower bases and plumbing showers for them when they didn't have showers. So he was one of the tenants who thought it was a good idea if they filled up the empty flats because they were getting misused for crack dens and things like that. I think they knew exactly what they were doing, the tenants that invited us in. And they said what they do is they would support everyone that moved in to the flats as squatters to get tenancies. And also they were worried that the council had an agenda to knock down all of the Pullens.
You know, for weeks there'd been rumours they were going to come. We'd been kind of preparing. And then finally it was like, you know, it was the day of reckoning came, I suppose.
When we knew it was coming, we had people on the roofs day and night look out, and we had a rota system. And when it was actually the day of the eviction, the air raid siren went off. All the phone calls went out to all the different journalists and people living about who said they'd come and help us resist.
3 buses full of riot police. And at 6 o'clock in the morning, they come out of their trucks, like out of their buses, like little soldiers. Ted and Deanie come around the corner and played brass music out.
It was the full riot gear. It was really, really over the top. And we were like singing and playing music and just chanting or whatever. It was like a carnival.
They all got their kit and went back in their vans. It was funny.
I was in my flat and I got my barricade up and it was really scary actually. I got everyone, I was at the window, you can see the photographs at the window. I was pregnant while they were smashing the door down in my flat. I was quite scared, but the crowd had gathered below my window as they'd done to everybody who was getting evicted at that time. And they were just giving you support. They were like, yeah, it's okay, keep us on, keep strong, you know.
As many baths as we could find, we were putting on the roof and filling it up with all our rotten vegetable peelings and stuff and horse manure. So it was just like this wet, smelly mush. So we just decided to throw smelly stuff at them. That was really fun.
So then I just remember being evicted. You know, they broke the door down. Some people, I think, tried to hose them through the letterbox, but you know, it was just going to stop them for a while, slow them down. It was pretty heavy.
Upstairs, that's it.
I think someone had thrown something at the police, and police chased this person up one of the stairwells. And I don't know what I was really thinking, but I followed the police. And as soon as I got up to the top of the stairwell, I was alone with a group of angry police. Not surprisingly, they were quite hostile to me, and one of them punched me in the back and told me to get out of here or something like that. And I nearly fell down the stairs.
I don't think they realised that all the roofs were open at that time, and they'd already skedaddled over the roof and gone down another stairwell somewhere else. My cat Rupert had been like just watching everything going on from the roof. He freaked out when all the police came up on the roof and actually leapt off the roof, leapt through midair. Everything stopped. And everyone just went. And he landed on a bin liner and ran off.
They come in and they go, you've got to get all your stuff out. So then people were taking all their stuff out, and then they were just sitting on the street with their furniture and their stuff.
They eventually got in, chucked me out, and I just already got my stuff packed up. So I just left with my stuff packed up, and then just joined in the rest of the eviction resistance that was going on.
You got a good song?
Yeah. Just about the only thing I got.
You gonna play that later?
Oh, this is a really good shot.
How is it?
Oh, is it? Yeah.
We were just waiting for the police to go, and the police were a bit fed up. Maybe they were a bit smelly by then, or I don't know. Anyway, they went. As soon as they went, we just got ourselves back in and re-squatted the place, and then contacted the council and told them we've re-squatted all their places and could we have tenancy, please? And that's more or less what happened. They gave us tenancies.
When I actually did get my tenancy, like, you know, it didn't have to have a toilet in it, it just, like, you know, had to have 4 walls and a door, you know. The plaster was falling off. And
We did get our tenancies and we did get flats, and we won.